You can make $90,000 a year and feel completely broke, and you can make the exact same $90,000 and feel genuinely untouchable. Same paycheck, same Friday deposit, same gas station coffee on the commute in. The difference comes down to one number that almost nobody can actually name. Clears throat. Meet Marcus and Derek. Same company, same job title, same $90,000 salary hitting the same bank every 2 weeks. Same apartment complex, different floors, same gym membership, neither of them uses enough. On paper, and I mean completely on paper, you could not tell these two people apart. Then one Tuesday, both their cars break down. Same week, same shop. Same $1,400 repair estimate sitting on the same greasy piece of paper. Marcus taps his card, goes back to scrolling, doesn't flinch, doesn't even really think about it. Derek reads the estimate 3 times, sighs, feels his stomach actually drop, opens his banking app to calculate which payment he can push to next month without it becoming a problem. Sits in the parking lot for 11 minutes doing math in his head that has no good answer. Same income, same bill, 2 completely different humans in that parking lot. And what separates Marcus from Derek is not discipline. It is not luck. It is absolutely not the salary. Both of them will get paid the same amount this Friday. It is a number. A specific number. One that neither of them has ever said out loud at a dinner party. One that most people couldn't name for themselves right now if you ask. It's called net worth. And there are 3 specific points on that number line where life quietly, almost invisibly, stops feeling like a treadmill and starts feeling like something else entirely. My name is Dantic, and I've spent an embarrassing amount of time studying exactly why 2 people with identical paychecks can live in completely different realities. If you've ever worked hard and somehow felt like you were standing still, not moving backward, not moving forward, just running, subscribe, because today we're mapping the exact 3 thresholds where your entire relationship with money changes. Not theoretically, specifically, and I'll warn you right now. The 3rd level does something to people that almost nobody sees coming. Plenty of people reach it and are still miserable. The research finally explains why. We'll get there. But the 1st level is closer than you think. Here's the framing that makes all of this click before we go anywhere. We are trained by every conversation, every LinkedIn post, every family dinner to measure financial progress by income. How much do you make? What's the salary? What did you get for a raise? But income is just water flowing through your hands. Net worth is what's actually left in the bucket after it flows through. And it turns out the bucket has 3 lines painted on the inside. 3 levels where once you cross them, the water starts behaving completely differently. The car breaks down and you barely feel it, or you sit in the parking lot for 11 minutes. Same water coming in, different line crossed, different human being. Marcus had crossed the first line. Derek hadn't. That is the entire story of that parking lot. Speaking clearly, level 1, $100,000 escape velocity, $100,000. I know for some of you that number feels genuinely far away right now. For others, it might feel almost small. Stay with me on both ends, because this is the most important threshold in this entire video, and the math behind why it matters is genuinely beautiful. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's late business partner, a man who was worth billions when he died, was once asked about building wealth from nothing. His answer has been quoted so many times it almost lost its meaning. But the meaning is still there if you actually look at it. He said, and I'm cleaning this up slightly, well, the first $100,000 is a grind. You've got to do it. I don't care what you have to do. Find a way. After that, you can ease off the gas a little. Now, why would a billionaire fixate on a number that to him was essentially a rounding error? Why $100,000 specifically and not $50,000 or $250,000? because the first $100,000 is the only stretch of the entire journey where you do almost all of the work yourself. Here's the math. Say you are saving and investing $10,000 a year. That is roughly $833 a month, earning a 7% average annual return, which is the S&P 500's historical average after inflation. Getting from zero to your first $100,000 takes you approximately 7 to 8 years, and during those years the market is barely contributing. Your investment returns in year one on a small balance are almost invisible. Almost every single dollar in that account is a dollar you personally earned, saved, and chose not to spend. It is a slog. It feels slow because mathematically it is slow. But now watch what happens on the other side of that line. Going from $100,000 to $200,000 doesn't take another 8 years. It takes approximately 5. From $200,000 to $300,000 under 4 years. And here's the number that should make you put your phone down for a second. Going from $500,000 to a full million takes roughly the same amount of time it took you to scrape together that very first $100,000. Except now you're generating 10 times the wealth in that same window. Same effort, same patience, same $833 a month contribution. Wildly different output. Why? Because somewhere in that journey, your money quietly clocked in for its first day of work. At $100,000 invested at 7%, your portfolio generates approximately $7,000 per year on its own. While you sleep, while you are at work, while you are stuck in traffic. That is nearly a full year's maximum Roth IRA contribution earned by money that just sat there and compounded. You spent 8 years pushing a snowball uphill, and at $100,000, it finally crests the top and starts rolling down the other side under its own momentum. But here's the part that almost nobody talks about. The real magic of $100,000 isn't the math, it's what it does to your brain. Researchers set up a study where, and this one genuinely haunts me, where they walked into a New Jersey shopping mall and recruited regular people, ordinary shoppers. They asked them to imagine a car repair. For half the people in the study, the repair cost $150. For the other half, $1,500. Then they gave everyone a standard cognitive test, the kind that measures raw problem-solving ability, the kind that doesn't care about your education or your background, just pure mental processing. For the wealthier participant, no meaningful difference between the two groups, $150 or $1,500. The brain handled both without changing performance. But for the lower income participants who had to imagine the $1,500 repair, the ones for whom that number represented a genuine threat, their cognitive scores dropped dramatically. About a full standard deviation lower. That's an enormous effect in research terms. Same people, same brains. The only variable was 30 seconds of thinking about money they didn't have. The researchers described the cognitive effect of financial stress as comparable to losing a full night of sleep. Read that again slowly. Comparable to losing a full night of sleep. Now imagine that, not for 30 seconds in a mall study, but running continuously in the background of your mind every single day. Every conversation you have slightly impaired. Every decision at work slightly impaired. Every parenting moment slightly impaired. Every job interview, every performance review, every difficult conversation, all of it running on a brain that is operating slightly below its own capacity. Not because you're tired, because some part of your processing power is permanently allocated to a background calculation about whether you can cover an emergency. That is Derek in that parking lot. His brain is not worse than Marcus's. It's just taxed in a way that Marcus's simply isn't, and this is not rare. The Federal Reserve's most recent data shows that nearly 30% of American adults cannot handle a surprise $500 expense using cash or savings. Around 28% could not cover 3 months of expenses by any means at all. That's not a discipline failure. That's a cushion problem, a structural absence of buffer that quietly taxes the mind of roughly 1 in 3 people you pass on the street. $100,000 buys you out of that category, not into a yacht, not into a second home, into quiet. into a brain that is no longer running that background calculation, into being able to sit in a parking lot and not feel your stomach drop over a car repair. That's what level 1 actually is. It's not about getting rich. It's about getting your mind back. Quick and honest check before we climb any higher, because the next 2 levels only matter once you've understood this one. Where are you right now? Below this line, approaching it, or past it? Hold that answer in your head, because it will change how you hear everything that comes next. Level 2, $500,000 to $1 million. When your money, you've hit escape velocity. The financial static is gone. The background calculation has quieted down. Now what? Now you enter the strangest and most psychologically interesting stretch of the entire journey. The climb from $500,000 to $1 million. And the reason it is strange is that for the first time in your financial life, the most productive worker in your household might not be a person. Back to the math, because it tells the whole story. At $500,000 invested at a 7% return, your portfolio generates approximately $35,000 per year automatically, without you doing anything except not touching it. Sit with that number for a moment. $35,000 appearing annually, produced by nothing except money you already had. For context, that is roughly what the median full-time American worker earns from a job. Your portfolio is now pulling in what amounts to a respectable second income, one that does not call in sick, does not ask for a raise, does not have bad weeks, does not hate Mondays, does not need health insurance, does not get tired. Push that to a full $1 million at the same 7% return, and you are generating approximately $70,000 per year. That is more than the median individual income in the United States, more than what the typical person earns going to work 5 days a week for 50 weeks a year. At $1 million invested, your money out-earns a full-time human salary, and it does it while you are on vacation, while you are asleep, while you are at your kids' school play, while you are doing absolutely anything else on the planet. This is the level where the phrase work optional stops being a fantasy you see in the advertisement of some guru on a beach. It becomes a thing you can actually see on the horizon from where you are standing. You are not there yet, but you can see it, and just seeing it changes how you carry yourself in every room you enter. Here is what level 2 actually feels like in daily life. It is the meeting where your boss says something genuinely unreasonable, something that 6 months ago you would have swallowed and absorbed and brought home with you. And instead you realize calmly, almost surprising yourself, that you could leave. You won't today. You actually like parts of this job, but you could. And that single internal shift, the quiet knowledge that you have a real choice, rewires how you negotiate, what you tolerate, how much of your own self-respect you are willing to trade for a paycheck. It shows up in smaller ways too, ways that accumulate into something significant. It is not calculating whether you can afford the thing before it goes in the car. It is booking the direct flight instead of the one with 2 layovers to save $40, because your time is now something you can actually defend. It is the dishwasher dying and the entire crisis lasting approximately 4 minutes. You Google a replacement, you buy it, it arrives Thursday, it is over. No negotiation with yourself, no mental math at 2 a.m., just a problem that got solved. None of these are luxuries. They are just friction being quietly removed from your week, one decision at a time. And the strange thing is, most people at this level barely notice it has happened. They just slowly stop bracing for impact. The flinch response fades so gradually they cannot point to the day it left. Now, real talk, because I want to be honest with you about how rare this level actually is. Approximately 21% of U.S. households are millionaires by net worth. The threshold for the top 10% of American households currently sits closer to $2.4 million. So if you cross $1 million, you are not doing okay. You are in the top 5th of the entire country, measured by the only number that actually reflects financial reality. The problem is it almost never feels that way, and there is a specific reason for that. Which brings me to the trap hidden inside level 2, the one that quietly destroys the majority of people who should have made it to level 3. It is called lifestyle inflation, and it is the silent mechanism that prevents compounding from doing what it needs to do. Every time income increases, there is a gravitational pull. Researchers call it the hedonic treadmill. To let spending drift upward right behind it, you get the raise, you get the nicer car. Within about 12 months, the nicer car just feels like your car. The emotional response completely resets to baseline. The thrill is gone, but the payment remains, so you upgrade again, chasing a feeling that keeps resetting to zero. This is how people earning $300,000 a year end up financially fragile. Their money never gets the chance to take a second job because every dollar gets drafted immediately into a larger mortgage, a leased car that costs more than a year's worth of index fund contribution, and a lifestyle that quietly eats the future to fund the present. Level 2 isn't really about earning more. It is about having the nerve to let the gap between what you make and what you spend stay open long enough for compounding to do what it does. Most people slam that gap shut the moment it appears. Notice the pattern forming. Level 1 didn't add a luxury. It removed a fire, the fear of the emergency, the car repair, the unexpected bill. Level 2 removes a different fear, the fear of being permanently trapped by a single employer, a single boss, a single source of income. Every level you climb is not about adding things to your life. It is about removing fears from it. Keep that in mind. Because level 3 removes the largest fear of all, and it is the one almost nobody is actually prepared for when they arrive. Level 3, $2,500,000 to $5 million. Buying back your time. There is a scene in a film called The Gambler where John Goodman, playing the human embodiment of a man who is permanently finished doing things he does not want to do, delivers what I think is the most financially honest monologue in mainstream cinema. He says the goal is not to be rich. The goal is to reach a specific number, put it somewhere safe, and arrive at a position where no person, no employer, no bank, no circumstance can make you do anything you genuinely do not want to do. His number was $2.5 million. Here's what is remarkable about that. It wasn't just screenwriting. The number is almost mathematically perfect. It is built on one of the most tested and replicated frameworks in all of personal finance, the 4% rule. Researchers analyzed decades of historical market data across multiple economic cycles to answer one question: how much can you withdraw from an investment portfolio each year without ever running out of money over a 30-year retirement? The answer they kept arriving at was approximately 4% annual. This gives us a simple and powerful calculation. Take whatever you spend in a year, multiply it by 25. That is your number, the portfolio size at which your investments can theoretically fund your life indefinitely without requiring you to work another day. Run the numbers. If your life costs $40,000 a year, your number is $1 million. If you spend $80,000, your number is $2 million. If you want to live on $100,000 a year without ever working again, you need approximately $2,500,000. Goodman's number. The screenwriter did the actual math. Push that to $5 million and you can sustain a $175,000 to $200,000 annual lifestyle entirely from returns alone. For context, roughly 4% of U.S. households, approximately 5.5 million out of 135 million total, have $5 million or more in net worth. This is genuinely rare air, and I will be honest with you right now because I think this is the most important thing in this entire video. This is the level where I see the largest gap between what people expect to feel and what they actually feel when they arrive. People climb to this level expecting the meaning to show up automatically alongside the math, and for roughly 80% of people it does. The research, specifically a large-scale study by Matthew Killingsworth, tracking over 1 million real-time mood reports from thousands of participants, shows that for most people, well-being continues rising alongside wealth, no clear ceiling. More genuinely does produce more, at least in terms of life satisfaction. But for approximately 20% of people, and these are the ones who get here and quietly fall apart, the money stops stops helping at around $100,000 in annual income and never resumes. Not because the money ran out, because the unhappiness was never actually caused by money in the first place. It was loneliness, purposelessness, a marriage that had been fracturing quietly for years, a sense of meaning that a salary and a portfolio cannot manufacture. No net worth level can buy your way out of a problem that money did not cause. The people who get to level 3 and stay miserable are the ones who spent a decade treating the number as the destination. The people who get here and finally feel different, genuinely, sustainably different, are the ones who use the number as the tool it actually is. A tool to buy back time. Waking up on a Tuesday without an alarm because you want to. Saying yes to being present for things you used to miss because you had to be somewhere. Saying no to work that diminishes you because you finally can. Having the actual hours of your actual life stop belonging to someone else. Level 1 bought back a quiet mind. Level 2 bought back options. Level 3 buys back time. Your one finite, non-renewable, genuinely irreplaceable resource. The only thing you cannot make more of regardless of your net worth. That is what is actually waiting on the other side of that number. If you are sitting there thinking you are not even close to level 1 and this all sounds theoretical, I need you to hear this clearly before this video ends. The fact that these levels are rare is not a reason to feel behind. It is the entire reason they are worth building toward. Nearly 30% of Americans cannot cover 3 months of expenses. The bar to feel genuinely measurably different is not infinite wealth. It is a cushion, then a choice, then your time back. That is the full journey. 3 things, and the most important thing to understand about the math of all of this is the part we opened with. The hardest, slowest, most psychologically grueling stretch of this entire journey is the climb to that first $100,000. The phase where the market is barely helping, where every dollar in the account is one you personally refuse to spend, where the snowball is still moving uphill and the progress feels invisible. Almost everyone who quits right there, in the slog, just before the snowball crests the hill and starts moving on its own. You do not have to get smarter. You do not have to get luckier. You do not need access to something that other people have that you don't. You just have to outlast the boring part, the part where the math hasn't started working for you yet, because the moment it does, everything changes. The compound interest that felt theoretical in year 2 becomes $7,000 a year, appearing without effort in year 8. The $7,000 becomes $35,000. The $35,000 becomes a salary your money earns while you sleep. Marcus isn't richer than Derek on payday. Their direct deposits are identical. He is just further along a number line. That is the entire difference between sitting in a parking lot for 11 minutes and not thinking about it at all. You do not cross any of these lines by accident, but you cross them one automated contribution at a time. 1 month where the transfer goes through on schedule and you leave it alone. 1 year of not upgrading the car when the urge appears. 1 decade of letting the gap between your income and your spending stay open long enough for the math to do what the math does when you give it time. Pick your level, not the aspirational one. The one that is actually within reach from wherever you are standing today. Because 10 years from now, that money is either quietly working for you the way it works for Marcus, or you are working around the absence of it the way Derek does every single week. I know which version of that parking lot I would rather be living. One last thing, and this is the only sentence in here that sounds like a disclaimer because it genuinely is one. I am not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is personalized financial advice. These are patterns I have spent a long time watching play out, with real numbers attached. Take what is useful, leave the rest, and verify anything that matters with someone qualified to advise your specific situation. If this changed how you think about the number you are building, drop a comment telling me which level you are climbing toward right now. I actually read them, everyone. And if you want the mechanics behind crossing that first line as fast as mathematically possible, the video for that is right on your screen. Go watch that one next.